Good afternoon, Iron Willies. We are back. We're back on all the platforms. We're ready to give you a fantastic episode here today. Thank you all for bearing with us last week when we weren't able to upload to Spotify and Apple Podcasts and whatnot. But we're back, and we will never leave you again. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. You know, we've spent most of our time this afternoon talking off the air about non-fitness related things. So I'm hoping that we're not going to be a huge dud for you guys here today.
Yeah, no, dude, there's always more conversation that we could go towards.
Always, like, you want to talk about, like, I don't know, cereal or something? Like, you like Cheerios?
Ooh, you know, who buys the boring cereals? Like, I don't know, unflavored cornflakes. Cornflakes. Who buys cornflakes?
I would buy cornflakes. I would buy bran flakes. I would buy the regular Cheerios, the ones that taste like nothing.
Yeah.
You know why?
I like those better than Honey Nut.
Man, Honey Nut is super freaking good. I don't know.
super
Like,
good.
taste wise, much better. But I tend to want to lean toward, when it comes to processed foods, the more basic ones.
Yeah.
So for my cereal, if I'm gonna get something like that, not like an even simpler granola, I'm gonna go for something that's like pretty low in sugar, pretty basic as far as the ingredients go. So I am that guy. Ask
Dude,
me anything.
You know, bran flakes were invented by, I think it was the founder of Kellogg's, the cereal company, as a medical treatment for like indigestion or something like that.
Makes sense. Aren't they pretty high in fiber?
I think so. He even started a whole health clinic around it where he would cure his patients with a really strict diet of bran flakes.
Well, as far as the wheat goes, the bran is like the thing that they take out of it to make like a white flour and stuff like that. So you got like the germ and the bran and stuff like that. So it's the more desirable part as far as nutrition goes. So I could see how you could, run a little scheme around that.
Oh, yeah.
But to say that it's going to be some sort of cure-all is probably a stretch. Yeah, it might help you with regularity or something like that. But I'm no bran expert. I don't know.
Dude, the early 1800s or early 1900s, late 1800s had so many of these crazy doctors that claimed so many crazy things, miracle cures for all
Snake
sorts.
oil.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. That was the snake oil heyday. Like homeopathy, about to make some enemies right now. Homeopathic medicine. Have you ever heard anything about it?
It sounds to me like you get with your homie and you give him a big hug. That's homeopathy right there.
That's homie therapy, bro.
Oh, man, I always get them mixed up.
Homeopathy is where you take a substance. It's really interesting. And it has a lot to do with like holistic natural care. So there are doctors that get their degrees in this stuff. And I think that some of it might have some credibility. But
Like bloodletting?
oh, yeah, absolutely. Leeches actually, but bloodletting even more so. No, so there might be some credibility to some of the things that they do and deal with, but homeopathy in particular, and what it is basically you take a substance, which is your cure, right? And let's say in this case, I don't know,
Lavender.
sure, we've got lavender, and so what you want to do is you want to get this lavender and distill it. You want to not distill, dissolve it into a solution and create a solution. So you'll take 1 part of lavender, so let's say 1 part lavender, 9 parts water, and you stir it. And you stir it really hard. Okay, that would be a 1X solution. And so you then take that solution and you mix 1 part of that with 10 parts of more water. And that is a like 2X solution or something like that. Might be getting my numbers wrong here, but in essence, what they do is they dilute it so much that there is practically nothing left of the original substance. A popular one would be like HGH, human growth hormone, which is a hormone that can have very observable effects on people, but not in the case of homeopathy. So it's been diluted so much. Their claim as to how it works is the water and the way that they stir this so vigorously actually retains some of the memory of the original substance. And that substance then works its magic inside your body, but in a much safer way because it has been diluted instead of just putting this really strong, concentrated, nearly pure levels, if not pure level, of whatever the substance is. So really, they're selling water. It's fancy water. It's super expensive in some cases, and some people really, really, really abide by it. But I just wanted to do a little side note there.
Where can I get me some of this?
Actually, I've got some. It works. Water. It works. Multi-level marketing.
Okay, we're back on that.
If you joined us for last episode, this is continuation.
Well, honestly, that is a good tie-in because the essential oils community is very into that. I'm guessing you can consider that homeopathy, where they treat common ailments with essential oils, where essential oil is not necessarily a diluted, more so a concentrated version of certain things, like peppermint oil, for instance. Like, I don't know what they use that for, like headaches or something like that, where they put a drop on your temple and then that's supposed to cure your headache. I don't know scientifically if there's any merit behind that. Like, I don't know how much it's been studied. I'm guessing not very much. And I'm guessing there's not very much evidence to support it. But there is that intangible placebo effect that probably does do something for some people. Just like, giving somebody a sugar pill instead of an aspirin, and then their headache miraculously will disappear. That the psychosomatic actions of your mind are a lot more powerful than a lot of people think. Like, the power of suggestion can actually go a long way in changing and affecting physiology, which is very, very interesting.
It is.
But it is also really hard to wrap your mind around how, on a fundamental level, that it actually works.
I think that's what one of the real actual benefits of homeopathic medicine would be, is that
placebo.
Yeah, you go and you visit this doctor who isn't, a traditional doctor, so they don't have to cut you off short because they have a whole slew of patients that are waiting on them. They don't have to write all this insurance stuff up, and essentially they just have more time to give to you as a patient, and so they're going to listen to you, they're going to hear you out, they're going to comfort you, they're going to give you this stuff that according to them works and works super well.
It works.
Multi-level marketing. And so after all that, they've essentially just built up this gigantic placebo effect, which we've seen in studies that can be more effective than certain medications.
It's like borderline hypnosis at that point.
Yeah, which is super crazy.
But man, I mean, honestly, I would rather have that than some prescribed pharmaceutical that the main reason the doctor is giving it to you is because of money.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to the
pharma rep paid them off.
Exactly. And that's how it goes, is that you go to the doctor and they are going to be quick with the trigger finger to write you that prescription, whereas they are going to probably skimp out on some of the testing required. They're going to just assume, like, they, in a lot of cases, I'm sure it works, multi-level marketing, but in a lot of other cases, you're left with improper treatment. So I don't know if you ever watched this show or ever heard of it. It's called, like, Mystery Diagnosis, where these people will have this issue and they'll go and see a bunch of different doctors and no one will be able to figure out until finally, they go and see a doctor who's able to pinpoint this obscure ailment that's messing them up. Scary stuff, really. Like, nobody wants to be caught in that situation.
No.
But it just goes to show you how these busy doctors will quickly just, be like, make an assumption, and, sometimes that assumption is going to be right, but other times it's not.
Oh, dude.
So I remember a good few years ago, like, God, it was a while ago, over 5 years ago, I had measles, according to the doctor. Like, I was sick for like a few days. Like, I had this high fever and I just felt terrible. So I was like, I have a pretty high threshold for wanting to see a doctor, but I was like, yeah, I better go. And I went in.
That's how you know it's serious.
Yeah, really. And I had like, well, I remember one morning I woke up and I had like this red rash on my abdomen, and I was like, well, I'm dead. So I went to the doctor, and he basically just looked at me and he's like, yeah, you got measles. They didn't really, do much else other in the form of testing or anything like that. And they just told me like, hey, you're going to need to just take some Tylenol to manage the fever, and then you're going to need to wait it out. And I did, and it worked. Multi-level marketing, it worked. But I can see in another case someone going and having similar symptoms and being told that, and they could possibly die for lack of treatment. So
Could have been something else entirely. Well, we're not doctors, but it's absolutely something that we can speak just because we've observed it. It happens, dude.
aren't you a proctologist?
How'd you know?
Amateur proctologist? Gloveless exams done out of your house?
I just got certified.
Yeah,
it was
online from the University of American Samoa.
UAS. You got it. UAS for life.
That's prestige right there.
Yep. Well, it's just one of many certifications that I aim to acquire, amateur proctologist. But I'm not quite a doctor yet. Not yet.
Well, the amateur proctologist title is going to do wonders for your fitness coaching career, because, men age 35 and older are going to need that prostate exam.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone, just like, hey, check the bow.
I actually had no intention of pursuing that certification on my own.
It pursued you.
But yeah, so many dudes kept asking me. They're like, hey, you do amateur proctology, right? And I'm like, what the heck? Not yet.
It's like a fake it till you make it type of scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Well, here we are. And so I'm making it.
It's honest work, but someone's got to do it.
Exactly.
This reminds me, I don't know if you saw on our messages in the Ironwork Collective.
Dude,
Yeah.
awesome.
This gentleman sent us a message in support of his business, so I'm assuming, didn't really follow up much with it, but obviously didn't really, it was like a copy and paste thing you probably sent to a lot of people, so I'm like,
Yeah.
not horribly into that kind of thing. So yeah, he's like, hey, I like your page, I see that you like fitness, I do too. And he said something like, I'm opening an office in the area, and what do you do for a living? And I was like kind of confused, like, opening an office, like, I would understand if he was like, I'm opening a gym or something. Maybe I would have been more serious with him. But so I replied to him, and I was like, we're actually doing crap, what did I say?
At home.
Yeah, at home stool samples. We collect stool samples for at home fecal transplants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, it's dirty work, but someone's got to do it. And he's like, yeah, check out my finance page here. I'm just like, nah, it's all right. But I get it. Points for trying. Like, hopefully that person was able to grow his business a little bit with that method.
Yeah.
But I apologize to you, friend, for not taking the bait. I wish you luck, though.
Yeah, exactly. And if you ever do need an amateur stool sample collection, hey.
Yeah, if you got extra stool laying around and you want to donate it, come on in. Like, it's basically like donating sperm, except we let you go in the bathroom with a National Geographic instead of porn, and then we let you poop instead of fapping.
Man, it equally is
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
If you ask
We're not
me,
going to
like-
pay you. It's donations, but, like, we have some good reading material, so...
Yeah.
Knowledge is more valuable than any currency, in my opinion.
Well, you can take someone's currency away, can't take away their knowledge.
That's what my grandma says.
Yep. Dude, your grandma's on top of it.
You
She
can
knows what's
donate
up.
your feces, but you can't have your knowledge taken away.
Boom.
Yep.
And we're back.
Profound.
So, what were we saying? Oh, okay. I've only ever worked in the medical field. I've only ever worked in a physical therapy clinic, which is not, it's a little outside the medical field, like at large. It's not necessarily like a doctor's office that you'd go and get something prescribed. They more just try and figure out why you're hurting and then how they can fix it. But what I saw very often, frequently, were doctors who had a crazy high workload and a ton of patients, just endless stream of patients coming in, all with, something going wrong. They're a whole different puzzle to solve. But these doctors would start going into just kind of falling into a rhythm, a pattern. And I noticed a lot of these patients have the same exact outcome, the same treatment plan. And, my job was to help out with the treatment plan and get the patients going and making sure that they got the attention that they needed so that they felt better eventually. But they're all coming out almost the same. Like if you went in for low back pain, you came out with pretty much a standard. Yeah, exactly. Standard treatment plan. There was no like case by case method here. And so that really got me thinking. Well, first, let's say you go into a traditional doctor's office and I don't know, you've got some kind of internal digestion issue. That could be so many things. It could be a number of things. And with minimal testing, a doctor might go, okay, well, I'm going to prescribe you this. Boom, there you go. And you've been treated in the eyes of your insurance company and in the eyes of the doctor. But to what end? Who knows? You really have to wait and see. So that's the scary thing about it. I think that's just kind of a problem with how the medical field is, and why I think it's super important that you be your own best advocate. I know we've talked about this in the past before, but hey, it's back in black. We're doing it again. So there's that. Also, another thing that I had noticed were these doctors or physical therapists not telling patients the obvious, like your knees and ankles and back hurt and you are 100 pounds overweight. Lose the weight. Nothing. Nowhere to be heard. Why? I don't know.
Maybe they're assuming that their doctor told them that, and they didn't want to sound like a broken record. But hey, if you're at that point where, I agree, but if you're at that point where these, obesity is causing a cascade of other issues in your life, I don't think you can hear that you need to lose weight enough.
Yeah.
Like, unless you are observed in the gym trying to do so and someone sees you at home eating a salad instead of a cheeseburger,
right?
Then those are the only times when I think people don't need to tell you, because they're like, okay, yeah, he knows, he's
making an effort.
Yeah, he's in here trying, like he knows there's a problem.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will be oblivious to that, partially to blame the fact that being overweight here in America is, you're in the majority. If you're overweight, you are
60%.
Isn't it 70?
I wouldn't be surprised
70,
if it is now.
I think it's something. Well, I mean, who knows the real stats? Like, I'm not in the freaking Census Bureau or anything like that. But from something that I recently learned, or read rather, is that it's like 70% of Americans are overweight, and then another 30% of those 70% are actually obese.
Yeah.
So even more dire straits there. But to look around and see like, oh, I'm fine, like I look like everybody else,
kind of validates.
It makes it seem normal for you to be the victim and to keep that victim mentality, because you're like, all right, everybody's like this is just the way it is. Like we were dealt a crappy hand, like I'm gonna blame it on my genetics, like some BS like that, when things like this are well within your control for most people. Some people may legitimately have a serious medical issue, such as like a endocrine issue or something like that it really is messing you up, and you do need some extra help in order to get to a healthy weight. But for most of us, it's a discipline issue. You are not disciplined enough to hit the gym and to eat right, or it's a education issue. Like, no one ever told you that this is not good and this is going to lead you down a rough road.
Dude,
that's what we're here for.
Exactly. Well, that reminds me of the conversation we had earlier. Again, non-fitness related, but we can tie it to fitness right now. Because earlier we were saying that to be normal now is actually to be somewhat crazy. I mean, if you're looking around and 70% of people are overweight, 30% of that 70 are obese, then that's it's not a good normal to have. There's something wrong with that normal because it's abnormal.
Yeah, like what? Like we're not a sumo wrestler society.
We are now. Like,
Man, I'm sure every single.
But even
sumo
they work
wrestler-
out.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna be so much more fit, even if they are obese.
they're strong.
Yeah,
dude.
they're gonna be able to play their sport or something, or like an offensive lineman or something. Someone who for their sport or for their job or what have you, they must carry a significant amount of excess weight. Those people, get a slight pass, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And if they care about themselves when they are done playing that sport, they're gonna trim down.
Right.
Try to add a couple years on their lifespan.
Yeah, healthier weight. I mean, it goes back to that Alan Roberts quote, which I constantly mess up. You even repeated it for me 3 times in one podcast. But you can be... Yep.
You can be anything at any weight except for healthy.
Yep, except for healthy. And it's so true, dude. I mean, sure, sumo wrestler, living the life. Don't want to talk bad about sumos because that is a sport and they dedicate so much, like all their time.
And that's
to
it. And that therefore it's a conscious decision for them,
Right.
to have this body type, whereas I'm sure their coaches will, or I mean, I can speak more for like some American sport like football.
Yeah.
Like for an offensive lineman or someone who their playing weight is like 300 pounds or something like that. Yeah, their coaches want you to be a big, bad mother. But
Seriously.
a lot of people who retire from pro football, like this offensive lineman from the Cleveland Browns comes to mind, named Joe Thomas. I recall hearing something that after his retirement, he cut a bunch of weight and just like a different person, like
Dang.
after the fact. That's like
Good
that's
for him, though.
longevity for him now.
Yeah.
He's done playing football. He doesn't need to carry around this weight. Not to mention that for most people, especially an athlete, it's going to require a lot of effort to maintain that weight and to be able to perform at your position. You can't just become a fat slob who just eats all the time and just like is made up of all fat. You got to be mostly muscle under that, but you got to be massive.
Yeah.
So you want to have that fat to keep your size there, because it's unrealistic for a natural athlete to be able to be 300 pounds of all muscle. And by unrealistic, I mean impossible.
No, man, hey, Big Rammy.
Yep.
We see you, Big Rammy.
Big natty Rammy.
Yeah, exactly. It's the nattiest of them all. It's all the fake weights, dude.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's a big epidemic now. Now no one likes Jeff Cavalier anymore. But hey, I still think that he has good information. I like to watch lots of points of view on many things, because we have access to, whoever wants to put their 2 cents up on the internet. So I like to watch a lot of fitness stuff, of course, primarily. I was watching this one dude who is making a video response about the whole Athlean-X fake weights thing. And he was bringing up some other instances in where he felt like Jeff Cavalier was losing credibility in his eyes. And one of the things he said was pointing out that he was suggesting people to do hippie exercises, which I thought was funny. Like in the concept of a hippie exercise, I'm like, what is he even talking about? Never heard that before. But I get what he was saying, because he was talking about how Jeff Cavalier will put a twist on a common exercise to in his opinion make it more effective for targeting a certain muscle or muscle group.
Yeah.
Which I believe him too. Like, he's got tons of experience in the field, so he would know that, modifying the overhead press in this certain way, in this certain arm position or whatever, is going to elicit a different response than if you were to do it the conventional way, which I'm cool with.
And he bases it off anatomy, typically.
Exactly. He will tell you that in his videos. He will back these things with science, which... these hippie exercises may or may not be for everybody, but they are options. Like, that's just to show you, there's not one right way to do any of this stuff in fitness. Like, if you want to bench press with leg drive, go for it. You're going to get a different response than if you were to be bench pressing with your feet up on the bench, but you're still doing roughly the same movement.
Yeah.
Just with less help from certain body parts.
Definitely.
So it's just like people need to look at things as not better or worse, just different.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I've run into that with Jeff Cavalier too, because a lot of the exercises that you'll see on one of his videos can be kind of difficult to recreate sometimes in the gym, especially with limited equipment. And you know, obviously he has a really good facility and he's got a fantastic working knowledge of the human body. When he brings out his, what does he call his skeleton?
I don't know.
All I can think of is Jesse, and I don't know, but he's got his anatomical model there, so he'll show it to you. He'll bust out the muscle markers and show that to you as well. He's super freaking ripped, so you can see every detail in his muscle, and it all comes together to make a very convincing package. Like, okay, I'm going to listen to what this man has to say. And so I'm going to give stock to not only his words, but the advice that he's given, the actual movements themselves. So it doesn't necessarily make them better. They're just a little more well thought out, in my opinion. I mean, for example, he's got like the cable crossover that he talks about oftentimes. He does it slightly differently than I think most of us learn how to do the cable crossover initially, because his whole idea is to isolate the pecs
and protect the shoulder.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, limit that internal rotation. That's a big thing. But really good advice, not the only channel that I watch. If it was, then, I mean, what are you doing? Your info is in a vacuum. So your horizons aren't that broad. You're only learning from one source. It doesn't matter how good that source is. It's not the be all end all, especially because every single person is different. I mean, sometimes when I have an injury, I'll look up, you know, blank injury Athlean-X. I'll start there. I'll watch his video. Then I'll go watch some different channels.
Check out Bob and Brad.
Bob and Brad. They're the best physical therapists on the internet.
So I hear. But I think what you're saying can be translated to pretty much everything else except for maybe like math. Yeah. Even in math, there are in some cases multiple ways to do it. Like for multiplication, for instance, you can do it like, you know, the standard way where you stack the numbers on top of each other and then you go multiply the one on top of this and then the one next to it with the first number or however you do it.
Never
learned. Then you also got like the lattice method, which is like you draw a box and then you do these other weird moves and you come out with the same result. So you know, yes, 2 + 2 is always going to equal 4 and nothing that you can do is going to change that. But sometimes there are different ways that you can get to that result.
Yeah.
Which is something you need to realize with most things. So my girlfriend Jesslyn is getting ready to start in beauty school to learn how to do nails. And she's been watching a lot of videos on YouTube. And what her interests are is like so beyond my understanding. Because I just cut my nails sometimes, you know, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Not even like they get pretty long before I cut them. They have to be annoying before I cut them.
Yeah.
I just, you know, that's all I really care about nails. But I'm sure there's a ton to it. So what I encourage for her is to watch multiple people, watch lots and lots of people and how they do it, because there is guaranteed to be more than one way to get from point A to point B, and it's going to require you to get those multitude of ideas and then also experiment for yourself to see what's going to work best. Same thing for fitness.
I think that the experimentation part is super important, and I've only recently come to realize that it's that important, because like I was telling you earlier with my at-home workouts, I've been trying to mess around with intensity. And so you can manipulate intensity as a variable a few different ways. You can either go with a heavier load, you can shorten your rest period, you can change the tempo of your lift, but they all
You
in
hold
all,
your breath
bad.
for the entire thing.
I just stop breathing.
Yeah, exactly.
Purple
Gets
head the
intense
whole entire
quick.
workout. It's awesome. Or you get that BFR around your neck.
Or the headband BFR,
Yeah.
like your good buddy Morgan.
Yep.
That's profound innovation right there.
It's next level,
Uh-huh.
top tier. But it came through self-experimentation. I realized that I enjoy high intensity. I really do. It's fun. It's not easy, and it sucks while you're doing it. But afterwards, very rewarding. Some people, they don't necessarily need that to continue making progress. And I don't think I need it always either, because there have been times where the intensity drops and workouts are still extremely productive and extremely satisfying at the end of them. So you kind of have to constantly be evaluating yourself and where you are, what works for you, and take it from there.
Keep an open mind. That's
Yeah,
that's the
definitely.
biggest thing with not just
There's
with
no one
fitness,
way.
but with everything that you do in your life. Because one thing is for certain, you don't know what you don't know. Like we were talking about before, there's so many things in this universe that like it's impossible for any one of us to know everything, and to think that you do about any given subject, you're being pretty pompous there. So a good example of that is guitar. Playing guitar, you can get really really good at guitar. You can go and get famous at guitar, and you can make a whole career out of it. But that doesn't mean that you know all there is to know about guitar, and that you have opened every door that there is. Is always room to innovate. So that just being a small example of everything else, that you should remain humble and always know that there can be more to learn.
Yeah. So shout out to Athlean-X.
Shout out to Tosin Abasi.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, is he still going?
Oh, I'm sure. I do not see that guy stopping playing guitar anytime soon.
He's so swag, just
He
like
really-
Jeff.
Well, all right. Tosin Abasi, for anyone who doesn't know, he is the mind behind Animals as Leaders. Not the only good musician in that band. Everyone else in that band is extremely talented as well. And the main thing with him, though, that he comes to the front of my mind when I think about guitarists, and he's in the genre that I like and stuff like that. But that his playing style is, and things that he has brought to the progressive metal world, have really opened up new doors. Like he plays an 8-string guitar.
Yeah.
He uses these crazy percussive right hand techniques for picking, and he's just been able to create these sounds that are like, wow, like how on earth is he doing that? But the fact that he's doing it shows that it's possible, and then that opens the door for the next generation of guitarists to build off what he's built. Just like with like Jimi Hendrix and the innovations that he was able to make, in the 60s, and how that has all been built upon to come to where Tosin Abasi is now.
Yeah.
So the evolution can be infinite.
Yeah. And it doesn't really take that much. I mean, I'm imagining that Tosin just was very aware of what bassists were doing. I mean, that could be a driving factor behind the extended range, why he upped his amount of strings, right?
He's like, I can be the whole stringed instrument portion of the band all by myself.
Yeah, his right hand is acting like a bass player. His guitar is so much more bassy, and it all culminated to make this one unique thing, which is to say, in fitness terms, you can take a variety of styles and make your own thing out of it. For example, you don't have to just do high intensity, like, I don't know, Mike Menser, Dorian Yates, those crazy dudes who would advocate for very few exercises and sets, but very high intensity and a lot of recovery time, as opposed to, I don't know, a person who's practicing CrossFit on the regular, and they're going every single day with lots of exercises and lots of frequency. You can kind of combine the two, find a happy medium, whatever works for you. You make your own thing out of it. Just know that you've got tools.
I think that classifying yourself into any one discipline in fitness is just limiting the possibilities for the future. Like if you say like, hey, I'm a powerlifter,
Yeah.
then that means like, oh, okay, all you want to do is increase your strength with bench, squat, and deadlift.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Like, yeah, if you love powerlifting and you are involved in the sport heavily, then yeah, that's going to be a priority for you. But that doesn't mean that you can't pursue other interests within fitness. That doesn't mean you can't do bicep curls. That doesn't mean that
those
you
accessories.
can't, go on a jog on the weekend. Like, I think that first and foremost, if you want to be successful with anything in fitness, it's going to require consistency, which is going to require your ability to adhere to a plan in order to reach your goals. And the best way to do that is if you can find some sort of enjoyment in that plan.
Yeah. That's huge. If you want to look like an athlete.
You got to train like an
athlete.
Door-to-door salesman.
I mean, I don't know. People will like to pigeonhole themselves, and I think that's because it gives them that comfort of community and security. It's really comforting knowing like, oh, okay, this is the path. This is all I've got to do. Just stick to this. No deviation. Cool.
But it's like you're limiting yourself. You got to know that you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to just do this one thing. Like, you can do whatever you want at any given moment. Like right now, if you're listening to this and you're at work, you can go up and you can quit right now if you hate your job.
Just walk out and leave.
Yeah, you can literally, if I were you, I would do it in a little more respectful fashion, maybe tell somebody, but just to not screw over your homies there. But if you don't have any homies there, if everyone treats you like crap, then go ahead and leave.
Yeah, make it epic.
Exactly, yeah. Poop on the boss's desk and then
Like
scrape the poop off the desk and then come and donate it to us.
Yes, we need it.
Yes.
Dude, I agree with you though. And it can be a little bit scary at first because going back, you don't know what you don't know. So how could you kind of make your own style if you aren't well versed in what kind of styles there are? A lot of people just stick to the first thing that comes to their mind. Oh, that's what they taught me in high school gym. Just keep doing that.
I think it comes down to a willingness and a confidence and bravery to step outside of the box and
natural
just try.
curiosity.
Exactly,
man.
Just try. Like maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Calculate the risk, and if you're comfortable with it, dive in. But if you're not, then maybe wait a little while.
Yeah.
So I think that they say the only way that you can grow is to step outside of your comfort zone, and typically people who do that will failure, even if they suffer failure or not, they're not going to be sad that they made that decision.
Yeah.
If you do fail, it's very important that you do not give up. But if you are successful, then that is going to be worth the risk.
Exactly. Dude, I can imagine someone like Jeff Cavalier who, as far as I know, he started out with like traditional bodybuilding style of workouts. He had the Arnold Schwarzenegger books, and he just went through and applied himself. And maybe along the way, through his schooling and everything, he was able to combine multiple fields, multiple points of view, and that came to be the Athlean-X method, or whatever he has going on, his own unique style. But it's rooted in a whole bunch of other people's styles. So he didn't just get there, he wasn't born like knowing how to do these exercise variations.
Yeah, he didn't invent the damn pull-up.
No.
But he just used it in a way that made sense to him, and that was able to help people that he was trying to help. And then I'm guessing he just figured like, hey, I can share this information with the masses if it helps one person. Like what we think about our content, if we can just help one person, then it'll be worth it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just we can't say enough to take everybody's word with a grain of salt, and it's going to require some thinking and some experimentation on your part as an individual to find what's actually going to work for you.
Yeah, for sure. And just because it works for you doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. You've got other channels that do things like that too, and you can tell like, damn, these guys just don't go out of their way to really see what else is out there. I think also
you can easily get stuck in thinking that if it works for me now, it's always going to work for me, but that's probably not the case. Like, you're probably going to have to grow as your skills develop. You're going to
Adapt.
exactly. You can't. I mean, that's something that is a fact, that if you are sitting in the gym and you go to the gym every day and do 3 sets of 10 on the bench press with 135 pounds, and you think that you're going to progress doing that, you're going to find out pretty quick that you're going to hit that good old, that mesa, that plateau.
Yeah, definitely, dude. Super quick, hopefully. But keep going. No, you can't call yourself a fitness addict.
Unless you make shakes with raw eggs in them.
Yeah. Shout out to our other favorite channel, the number 2 from Athlean-X. We've got Fitness Addict.
Yep. If you haven't seen him yet, I highly recommend you check him out. I'm gonna be flat out honest. I have never watched one of his videos.
You really should.
But I think there'd be some quality entertainment. But the thing is, most of the time when I'm watching fitness videos, my number one goal is to learn something, not so much to be entertained.
Yeah.
So maybe one day when I got, the popcorn ready and stuff ready for movie night, got the girlfriend there, snuggled up on the couch, fireplace burning, we're going to watch the Fitness Addict.
Yeah, I know exactly what we're watching. Tyrone the Fitness Addict. Man, well, it's not too difficult nowadays because a lot of really good channels with tons of good information are kind of skewing a little more entertainment, at least in some cases.
I agree, and I think that is great for them to be able to speak to a wider audience. Like we were talking with Morgan about when we had Morgan and House on the podcast a couple weeks ago, how Morgan was using his sense of humor to help to speak to and get through to a wider audience. I think that's super important. Humor, especially, like, I don't know, maybe you could use like drama or maybe fear as well, like the other genres of entertainment. But I think humor is solid. Like if you can teach someone something while also making them laugh, like you got something good going.
Yeah.
It makes me think of a teacher I had back in high school. His name was Mr. Bergeson. If Mr. Bergeson is listening right now, please send us a stool sample. No, but he was actually awesome. He was probably the best teacher that I had throughout any of my years in school. And he was able to get through to me in a subject that, a curriculum that, the state needs you to learn. But he put it in the most entertaining way. And he was the type of teacher that you wanted to impress. You didn't want to let him down just because of the way he presents this information to you. And I think if you're able to do that as an educator, like you're killing it, absolutely killing it.
Yeah, man, seriously, that's goals. But the cool thing about that is it has to be kind of effortless. Like I'm sure he tried a lot on his part, but after a certain while, he was just doing what he does.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right, but because he was definitely a veteran, so he'd been around the block. He'd had a few years go by and a few classes graduate. But I hope he's still doing what he was doing back then. I hope he's still got that spark because he's going to make a huge positive impact on a lot of people's lives.
That's cool. What did he teach?
He taught history.
Oh, man, that's a really good subject to have a good teacher in.
I agree, because it can be super dull and super boring, especially with the curriculum that they give.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the state curriculum, first of all, don't even get me started on this crap, because they're going to teach you only what they want you to know. And you know that there's so much that they leave out of it. But that's neither here nor there. But if he's able to take what he needs to do for his job in order to have the kids pass the standardized testing or however he is graded on his performance, but he was able to do that in a fantastic way. I remember we had a unit on World War I, and he arranged the classroom and like flipped over desks to be like trench warfare.
What?
And then when the bell rang and the class came in, he was pretending to be like the commander, and like it was awesome.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
like so No other teachers did anything like that I had.
Yeah,
and
you
I'm
don't
sure
get
they're out
paid
there.
extra.
Exactly. No, but he's a freaking man.
passion,
and,
dude.
And that's how you are become, an invaluable employee that you can find a job anywhere. If you can do that with whatever your position is, if you can, light somebody's fire like that, especially in education, like you're killing it.
Yeah. Well, thinking outside the box, that's for
Exactly.
sure.
Exactly.
Moral of the story here.
Well, we are just about out of time here today. Do you have anything that you'd like to add before we sign off?
What would I like to add? It's getting hot out there. Make sure to stay hydrated. If you think you're drinking enough water, drink some more.
If you think you're drinking enough water, grab a detox tea.
That'll do wonders for you.
It will.
Well, other than that, no, I don't have anything. Do you?
All right, I don't, but I've had a great time speaking today, not just on the podcast, but before and everything. And I greatly look forward to our next episode.
Every week. We'll hit you back with another one. Thank you, Iron Willies. You guys have been great.
You're hard.
Whoever's listening, hey, thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a good night.
Good night.